This is live and local morning radio, coming to you from the studios of Magic Broadcasting on Laird. This is the Kramer Show. This is the Kramer Show. The phone is now open, and the phone operators are standing by. Turn down your radio when you call. Pay attention and be ready to go. 850-233-9988.
I said, if you're having the best time of your life right now, let me get it. Yes, sir.
This is Kramer.
7:05. Every Tuesday and Thursday, Scott Major from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team joins us, and we've been doing this for months and months now. You have the opportunity to pick the mind of an incredible attorney, totally free for an entire hour. Our phone number to get on the air, 850-233-9988, 850-233-9988. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Scott Major. Good morning.
What's happening, pal?
What's going on? How are you, my friend?
I'm great, man. Coming to see you today. I'll be there for the rest of the week.
Excellent. Yeah, I talked to Scott yesterday afternoon, and he said he was coming up, and so we've got him on the phone today, and then he'll be here live tomorrow, and then be live on Thursday. So it'll just be you. Is Brian Parúas, is he coming?
He will not be physically present, but he will be on the phone. We will be roping him in for some fun.
You know, I want to ask you, you and I talk a lot, and we kind of throw out the idea, or not the idea, the fact that you have been in the insurance stuff, the insurance world, as an attorney for a long time, and I had a little extra time this morning. I looked out, I seeked out some videos of you, and I saw you on television shows, on television news. I saw some motivational speeches that you've given. I want to kind of highlight a little bit about your background, because I think it really is important to get across to people that you have really been focusing on these types of issues, storm issues, damage issues, for a very long time. And to me, I don't know really squat about the legal world, but isn't that rare for someone to solely practice that kind of law?
It is very unusual to find people that do that kind of work, either exclusively or primarily, because you really have to understand the law very well, and it's hard to just swoop in like some firms do and do the work for a year and then go back out and do your personal injury or whatever else you do. And so there aren't very many firms out there that really have experience. If you go and you, as a listener, if you were to go and ask a lawyer, you know, how many of you have handled, say, 500 claims or more, you know, few people would raise their hands if they were being honest about it. Or if you ask somebody, have you ever had experience on both the insurance side of stuff and the plaintiff side, that is the homeowner or condo side, the numbers would be extraordinarily low, if not, you know, one or two. And so I think that understanding these sides does give us an advantage and enable me to sort of better explain to our listeners exactly what's going on, and also for us to understand how to get to the insurance company, how to communicate more effectively. It's not just about, you know, ground and pound, you know, or just filing a suit or just writing a demand. It's how you write. It's what you say. It's the specific words you use. It's how intelligent you show them. It's your track record. I mean, when I worked on the insurance company side, the first thing we did when we had big litigation was look at the lawyer on the other side. But many people don't know that. We'd say, who's against us? Because that's going to impact our strategy. And then we would deal with how do those lawyers deal with us? In other words, are they using facts and science and evidence or not? And when you find that out and then you get to the other side, it makes a big difference in the management of claims and the success rate that we have. And so it's, it's just been, for me, it's been a labor of love because it is extremely emotional and extremely stressful. You know, I've been through the storms not only as a lawyer, but I've been through storms myself, living through them. You know, you can start back at Andrew and work forward, whether it's Wilma or Charlie or Ivan or Floyd or Rita or Mitch or Betsy or what, you just start naming storms off. It's just unbelievable the amount of, storms that I've either been through or been associated with. And then I flew to New York on my own dime and spent weeks and weeks up there for free, just helping people understand what their rights were, because they hadn't even been in a hurricane before. Many of them didn't have insurance, how to work FEMA, all the things that are associated with that. And I just think we have a higher calling, as people to do good. It's great that we all have to make a living, but if you have a higher calling, I think if you cast your bread into the waters, I think that things come back. And I think, and you and I have talked about this, I think we've derived a lot of joy in a difficult time by helping a lot of people and educating them and empowering them, to get the results they probably would have never gotten without our radio show. They probably would have never had. And what about the emotional value of getting good intelligence, or the emotional value of being able to put your life back together, the emotional value of, hearing some information where you feel like, yeah, I'm on the right track, or I've gotten some good response. I think there's something, spiritually great about that. And I just think that if more people like us did this, if more people were generous of heart, I think you would see, more goodness in the world, and you'd see less fighting and less stuff. And maybe that's an idealistic notion, but for me, it's really important, and it, that I live it, and I live that generosity, every day in what I do. And I don't say no to anybody. I spent an hour on the phone yesterday with somebody who had a $200 claim. So, I mean, it's just being good and using your intelligence wisely is what I think we're ordained to do.
Yeah, I saw some video. I think it was. I think you were in New York and you were talking about Hurricane Sandy. I don't know what the network or the TV channel was, but what I thought was interesting, really, was that you were basically saying a lot of the same things. In other words, there really has not been a whole lot of change in how insurance companies act after a major disaster. From Sandy, which was, when was that, 5 years ago? Something like that?
Yes.
Then you have, then you've got Matthew, you've got Irma, you got all these other storms that have happened regardless of whether it's in Florida, Texas, New York, or wherever the hell the storm is. It seems like the same problems occur continually. It doesn't seem like anything has really changed from state to state to state. Maybe a little variances in law, but primarily the people, the citizens, are still having the same issues. And for a guy that understands all of those issues, who can put it in plain English and actually go in and help people, I mean, it is fantastic. And you need to be in front of as many people as you can so that when another storm happens, they have some kind of guideline to go on as to what they're about to go through.
Yes, and I say this often, even though I don't really have, the audience or the connections with government and things like that, but I tell them all the time, I can help with the infrastructure. So right now, the season started June 1. So television stations, radio stations, governments, organizations should be talking to me about what is your experiences that you've had with the infrastructure challenges that have occurred. What are your suggestions? How can we bring in water sooner? How can we talk about debris removal being sooner? How can we station trucks and other things in positions where we'll have less damage? How can we educate consumers about how to best get insurance? How do we tell every single person that the day after the storm, you should be dialing your 1-800 insurance company immediately? You should start that letter writing. And if everybody does this in a meaningful way, you have several things that occur. Number one, as a city, as a county, as a panhandle, we get more information quicker. We get our properties resolved quicker. We get our problems resolved quicker. And secondarily, we have cities and counties and governments and private entities working together sooner. Third, we get insurance companies to know that they need to pay, that they can pay. It will give them all the documentation. And people get educated about giving the right documentation. I mean, there are many claims that aren't paid because people still haven't given the right documentation. That's extraordinary. But if you ask a lot of people who have suffered damage. They don't really know what their public adjuster has done or not done. They don't really know, what the insurance company's status is or not. Unless there were the lawyer like us who's, all over the insurance companies, they don't really know. They just sort of cryptically hand over their claim and hope that things go forward. And so I think that it's equally important to figure out a way to educate people in advance. There's ways to get the right insurance. There's ways to board up your homes. There's ways to determine what the kind of plan you should have to maximize the protection, minimize the damage to you. And I think that comes from years and years of experience. And I don't, understand why we can't get this message out louder, or that entities and people aren't really taking advantage of this. I don't know if it's ignorance or they just, that my name isn't, whatever, some famous, actor or something, but I can tell you that, me, I'll talk to grass growing. So I think that if we really can get more education, not only here, but throughout Florida, throughout the country, I think we can make a big dent in the problem. We can't stop the fact that insurance companies may be slow, but maybe we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's just get them all the documents early. Let's get them the proof of loss. Let's make sure on day 2 we've called them. Let's make sure on day 3 we have a vendor on our side. That shortens the time frame, gives the insurance companies everything they need in order to pay the claims sooner. And to me, that would be just wonderful. Why don't we set up a reward system in Florida so that we give insurance companies benefits by whether it's tax benefits, whether it's just benefits in priority for paying claims sooner, for paying more claims. Let's make sure the Office of Insurance Regulation, the OIR, doesn't allow people to put, I paid $50 and I closed the claim and now I have a closed claim. Let's make sure they're accurate. And again, it's not about, we're not picking on insurance companies. They're in business to make money, and we understand that. But in the unlikely event there are claims, it would be nice to have better processing so that insurance companies can do the right thing. They can be seen as a wonderful entity that's helping the community when you appropriately document your claims.
You've written books before. Maybe you write one on post-hurricane 101 or I don't know what you call it, but I mean, it just seems like to me there should there's a lot of abstract talking and thinking going on, and the reason I'm so glad we have you on is that you bring a practicality to it, and right. and you break it down to be a little more simple than everybody seems to think it is. It really is not as difficult as people may think.
That's correct.
I don't think you can do it on your own, but I think if you got a guy who's been doing this for decades and practicing that particular brand of law, lasering in on it, you know what you're talking about. Why not just hire somebody like you to do that and get it done?
Well, my sense is that you should do that. But at the very least, let's say you have your own favorite lawyer, or let's say you don't want to pay a lawyer, or let's say make up whatever you want. To me, at least you should be educated in the ways that you and I have educated all these listeners over 9 months. I mean, you've learned a lot during these 9 months, and it's amazing how, if people knew this, they would be better prepared. Who ever heard of proof of loss or examination under oath or value policy law or coverage A or B or ALE or any of these other terms? Nobody ever even heard of them. And even when you talk about them now, people still don't fully understand them. Same with lawyers. A lot of lawyers that still don't understand these terms. They don't understand all the things that are covered under ALE. I did that article that I handed out last week when we were together, and it has a list of all the things that are covered under Coverage D. And it was just incredible how long the list is, and people don't understand that. So, yes, I think it would be great to find the best educational forums to get out there. I'm willing to help the community as much as I can now and into the future. And I just want to be a source of goodness. I want to be a source of information that people feel like, hey, Scott's made a difference in our lives. He's made a difference in our community. And I've done that in other communities, and they've been extremely appreciative. And I just want to continue doing that here.
Let's take a break. If you got a question, you want to hop on the air with Scott, 850-233-9988, 850-233-9988. Scott will be in town tomorrow. He'll be doing the show live with me tomorrow. We'll be doing it again live on Thursday. So plenty of time to pick his ear. More to come. Stand by.
Kramer gets it. Kramer gets it. Do you? If you get it, call us. 850-233-9988. This is The Kramer Show on NewsTalk at 101. This is The Kramer Show. This is The Kramer Show. NewsTalk at 101.
Scott Major from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team with us to get on the air. Call us up. Pick his brain. 850-233-9988. To contact Scott or Brian, for that matter, 844-800-LAWS. 844-800-LAWS. Scott, welcome back. Gonna have. I'm excited because he's gonna be back in town. He's gonna be back in town tomorrow, and we'll do the show live tomorrow and on Thursday as well. Having you guys in last week was a blast and a half. That was some fun radio.
Yeah, Brian's a rock star.
So, over your time of how many years has it been where you've been traveling around and talking to people and just being really proactive? I mean, has it been a long while?
Yeah, it's been probably in the last 15 years. I've certainly spent a lot more time. You know, if you start back, I mean, I've been involved with storms before that, but the most significant is when, you know, go back to, say, 01, 02, where you had, you know, Tropical Storm Barry and Gabrielle in 01, and then in 02 you had Arthur that came across the Panhandle, and then you had, Eduardo or in Ormond Beach in 02, and then you had the, I want to say 03, 04, and 05 were big storms. You had, you know, from Tropical Storm Grace to Bonnie to Charlie in September of 04, and Francis was in 04, and Ivan was in 04, and Gene was in 04, and I want to say Dennis was in 05, Katrina was in 05, Rita was in 05, Wilma was in 05, you know, and you talk about lots and lots of work post those storms and continuing forward. And I just think that I found that there wasn't anybody out there educating people. Nobody was. There were some lawyers out there here and there. There was a lot of public adjusters around, but nobody was doing what you and I have done for 9 months. Nobody was going onto radios or offering to speak to churches or communities or anybody and just saying, I'm here. I'm not charging you anything. What do you want to know? I'll tell you anything. You need to get educated. And as you've seen from some of the insurance policies, they are so cryptically written. It is such a difficult read that it becomes impossible to understand without, you know, a compass, a map, some food, and a decoder ring. Mm-hmm. So, you know, as a result, you know, you need a lawyer who can understand that. Now, I'm not blaming the insurance companies or saying bad things. I'm merely saying that because it was complicated, you have to pay attention and make sure you fit within those exclusions or fit within something called the exceptions to the exclusion. So even if something is excluded, there's something called an exception or a give back that allows. And who knew that? I mean, nobody knew that. And the few people that did understand policies, when they read them, if somebody says, if an insurance company says you're excluded, you assume that. And then take into account the conservative and wonderful nature of the Panhandle people and the fact that they're trusting and that they believe that their insurance company would do the right thing. So they didn't go out and hire their own engineers and experts. They waited because they assumed that somebody would come out, write a perfect estimate, and then give them all their money. And then when they didn't get that, a lot of them were confused, you know, not even angry at first, were confused and just in disbelief that, well, what do you mean these things aren't covered? They don't even know whether they're covered or not. And they go to people, and a lot of people don't even know whether to tell them whether it's covered or not. And so I think that combination created a difficult scenario. If you take people who have been through storms, you go to the East Coast, for example, of Florida, where more storms have come, people have gotten more seasoned about it. And so they're a little bit more aggressive because they're more intelligent. And it's the concept of making sure that you give the information that you need to these people. And imagine if you and I had done this and now we had a storm tomorrow that God forbid it happened. Everybody who was listening would know what to do earlier, faster. Maybe they would hire me day one. You know, there's the problem that people don't understand. That is, lawyers can't go out and knock on your door the day after the storm like public adjusters can or like third-party vendors can. We're not allowed to do that ethically. So as a result, we couldn't swoop in and say, listen, why don't you just listen to me? I don't care who you hire. Why don't you just listen to me? I had to wait. We have to follow guidelines that say we can't directly solicit you unless we go through the Florida bar and get approvals and do all kinds of things. And so as a result, a lot of people got either miseducated or misinformed or just didn't even know that there was even lawyers out there that handled these claims. And then they assumed that the lawyers out there, they're going to be so expensive. And if I had $1 for every person, whether they're insurance guy or a adjuster or somebody who said, don't hire a lawyer, they're way too expensive, or I'm going to get you all your money, I wouldn't even have to work. And so I think that a lot of that disinformation out there, was unfortunate. And so, it was problematic to get people to understand that in many cases, I end up getting people all their money. And the attorney fees are paid for by the insurance company. So the irony of the whole thing is, had you got me involved in day one, it might have been even less expensive. That sounds like a sales pitch, and that's not my job here. My job is to tell you the truth. My job is to inform the public so they can do whatever they want to do. You want to hire an adjuster? Great. You want to hire an assignment, a benefit vendor? Fine. Just make sure that you're fully educated, you know what to do, so that you're making the right decisions for your family, for your home, for your business, for your church, for your community, and for your neighborhood. And I think if you do that, that's the best advice you and I can offer them.
All right, hop on the air. If you got a question, 850-233-9988. Scott Major from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team. 850-233-9988. More to come with Scott next.
This is the Kramer Show on the Good Old Boy Network. News Talk at 101.
Yes, all the questions everybody wants to know.
We're here. Call us 850-233-9988. This is the Kramer Show on News Talk at 101.
Mr. Scott Major is with us today. He'll be in the studio tomorrow, and then he'll be in the studio on Thursday. To hop on the air, ask him a question, pick his mind, something going on with you, 850-233-9988. Let's go to Tom. Tom, you're up with Scott.
Thank you, Scott. And Kramer,
Sure, Bob.
I have a comment. I would like to have your feelings about these unscrupulous contractors. How they come in and want money up front. I've never been through a situation like this. Unfortunately, I made a mistake hiring, but then firing the contractor. And secondly, the mitigation people that come in, they did more damage than the storm did. What can government do to monitor these people that are unscrupulous? Thank you.
Sure. Thanks for the question. Sorry for the trouble. It's unfortunate that you're not a rare experience. I think you should have local ordinances in place, as well as perhaps going to our Senate and our legislature and talking to them about having very strict penalties for the way in which people handle these claims. That is, vendors, unscrupulous vendors, and unscrupulous other people, even in some cases adjusters. The reality is that you're in a desperate position. Much like years ago, we fashioned some laws to protect elders, and there are penalties if you take from elders that are higher than other penalties. I think you're just as vulnerable after the storm, and I think we ought to have regulations in place that bar the use of certain kinds of contracts and that require them to contract in a way that is fair and give you complaint rights and say that if somebody dupes you or engages in wrongful conduct, that it can be felonies, it can be crimes, because if you overcharge, for example, as a vendor, or if you juice somebody's costs, it can be considered criminal and civil theft. So the most important things to do is to check out your vendors before you hire them. If you've hired them and you've had some bad experiences, make sure that you report them to the local licensing boards, to the state, to make sure that everybody else knows about them, and also, too, that they're fully investigated, because a lot of times some of these restoration companies have gone in and just tore out all kinds of things with reckless abandon to the actual damages. And what's sad about that is that you're not a builder, you're not a contractor, you don't know what they're doing, and then they tear all this stuff out and have worse damage than you had before, and then the downtime is expanded at a geometric rate. And so the second thing you can do is you can institute a lawsuit against them. If they have damaged you in a way that is beyond comprehension, that is beyond what an insurance company can pay, they are liable for it, whether that's in the form of fraud or in the form of malpractice or breach of contract. But the concept is that, as tragic as that is, that happens. And I think the way that people should really approach this is if you have a vendor, and we had this happen with a couple of people who called us on one particular vendor. If you have a vendor who's a problem person, if you can get a whole bunch of people together and all those people write complaints or all those people join together in a lawsuit, what happens is you can really make an impact against those vendors. But the only real way, in my opinion, to solve this problem is to create some statutory remedies or some additional civil penalties that say, for example, if you have to sue a vendor after a storm for wrongful conduct, you're entitled to attorney's fees. Then you'd see a lot less vendors doing wrongful things, because then if they charge you $4,000 more, you can go hire me and I could go sue them, and you don't have to worry about paying me because I can go chase the other side for attorney's fees. So adding rights of attorney's fees, adding penalties saying you can be sued for triple. If it's after a named storm, then the vendor can be liable for triple the damages if it's proven that they acted inappropriately or wrongfully or maliciously. So there are remedies that can be done on the local level or on the state level that would allow them to do that. You can have restoration, vendors and other people register with and get a specific license for business in a particular area so that you can regulate them in a better way and say they have to fill out an application that shows what their conduct is, or that provides and mandates that they have insurance themselves. So there's a number of remedies that I think infrastructure-driven people can have. But for the layperson, the best thing to do is report, and then if you have a serious enough problem, institute litigation against these companies. Hopefully you can get either myself or somebody else to help you doing that.
In order to run up the bill, the mitigation people put in 39 dryers and fans running so they could charge for all that equipment. It was horrible what they did.
Yeah, I have a raw nerve about some of the restoration companies and some of these other entities and vendors who abuse the process. There are some really great companies out there that I like, but I've got to tell you, it's disgusting, it's offensive, and if I could sue every one of them, I would, because I think that the ones that do bad stuff, everyone, roofers and general contractors included, there are some fly-by-night ones that come in and do that. To me, it is just awful. I mean, a lot of times you'll have, roofing entities come in, and some of them are great, but some of them come in and they have one team, but they go out and get 20 roof jobs. There's no way they can do those 20 roof jobs. They either have to subcontract those out to other people you don't know, or they can't start the work. So while I'm all for them getting business, they ought to have sufficient staff where they can service that business. So again, it's not picking on one group or another. It's you're the consumer. You're entitled to get your property, remediated, fixed. But you shouldn't have a second nightmare or a worse nightmare than the storm itself by having remediation companies that go in and plow through this nightmare for you.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day and be well.
What is it about people that do the water mitigation? That seems to be. I've heard so many stories over the months on the phone. Is it just because people just really have no clue what they're doing and how it should be done fairly? What's the deal?
It's a combination of things, Kramer. It's that the insurance company is paying. They have these ways in which they pay for these remediations, and the way in which their billing is set up to pay, actually creates a situation where you can put all these blowers and dehumidifiers and things in a house, and it encourages people to put them in. And so what happens is, in order to make bucks, some of the less than scrupulous people will not honor that thing and will overcharge and overbill and do things that they think will get them more money. Now, not all companies are like that, and I'm not generalizing in any way, shape, or form. But I'm telling you, from seeing thousands of claims, it happens a lot. And if I had $1 for every single consumer who came to me, every condo or client that came to me and said to me, hey, they told me they're going to overbill because they're going to get their bill cut down, I mean, that just sickens me. And, to me, again, if you monitor the way in which that the payments are made, then the insurance company can put some caveats on it. But I think what happens is with these unscrupulous people is it ends up hurting the consumer, because now the insurance company is saying, well, we ought to question everything because now we've got an overcharged vendor here. And so what other vendors do they have that are bad? So it hurts everyone to have these things. And that's why I think it'd be great to have more regulatory control. I'm not a person for regulation, but I'm not a person for no regulation. I believe that the history has shown that the biggest problems we have after storms regarding vendors is the way in which they deal with the customer, the way in which they bill, and the damage that they do to property that seems to be non-compensable. It seems to be like, what are you going to do? The guy, went in and tore out your entire baseboards and floors and everything, and now what are you going to do? Try to sue him? You're in the middle of an insurance litigation? It's just a nightmare. But I think it can be cleaned up, and I do think if you criminalize some of this behavior, it'll stop. I mean, people are not going to do things if they think there are consequences. And right now this is going on because people don't think there are consequences, and nobody's taking these people to task. How many lawyers do you know would be willing to sue bad vendors? It's just awful. And again, I'm not criticizing, every vendor. There's lots of great general contractors, great public adjusters, great roofers. There's a bunch of good people, and it's the bad people that sour the impact in relationship and make people more distrustful and make the insurance companies even more gun-shy when they're getting these ridiculous claims.
Is there also, on the flip side of that, are there also a lot of times where vendors are not getting paid on their end when they actually do, work that's fair? And by the way, how does that work with the insurance company? I mean, if an insurance company says that they're going to pay for a job, yet we all know that the insurance companies are sitting on their hands a lot, are you seeing a lot of vendors that are having the same issue with insurance companies?
Yes. I must have filed, I don't know how many suits in the many numbers of suits just recently on behalf of roofers, vendors that have been doing work, have done the work, and some of the excuses from the insurance company would absolutely sicken you.
Oh, God.
If you have a valid defense, great, but it's happening to vendors too. Listen, part of the assignment of benefits process, part of this whole process of vendors trying to be kind, was they went in and said, listen, you don't have to pay me. I'll go in and fix your roof or rebuild your house or remediate your home or take your water out, and I won't come after you. I'll go after the insurance company. I'll chase them. Sounds like a wonderful, benevolent thing, fantastic thing to do, and then they don't get paid. And so now they have problems with operating their company. So, I tell everyone, and we've said it since the beginning, the most important thing is to document, your damages, take your photographs, send pictures, write into the insurance company, ask them what is the reason why they're denying your claim. And if they give you a reason or they don't, that is not satisfactory, you immediately file a complaint and institute a suit. Because you have to get your home rebuilt. You can't sit around for 6 months, then decide to file a suit because you're living in squalor. There's still people living in tents. And they're not living in tents because there's no coverage. Yeah, are there some people who didn't have coverage? Sure. But a lot of people still haven't been paid. A lot of my clients still haven't been paid. But what happens is, if we mount an offensive and we say, hey, we're going to hold you to your feet to the fire, and if you've acted wrongfully, if not only did you not pay, but you didn't pay in a wrongful way, we may get up to triple the damages and other types of, associated consequential incidental damages, and that will motivate the insurance company or whoever it is to do the right thing. Again, a lot of insurance companies paid a lot of money. If you look, you'll see tens of millions of dollars have been paid. We're not taking away from that, and we're thrilled that there are insurance companies out there that are paying. It's fantastic. But that doesn't excuse the failures to pay and some of the denials I get that are just absolutely preposterous, or the non-response that you get that are it's just crazy. And we get on the phone and we talk to them, and a lot of times they don't have a good answer. They just don't. And that's unfortunate. I know it seems impossible that people could be that way, or maybe it's just gross negligence, maybe it's just they don't have the right people, but whatever the reason is, the bottom line is you and I are still dealing with this 9 months later with thousands of people that have not had their claims paid. I get a whole nother segment I could do on what the courts should be doing, because they're about to be inundated with thousands of claims. How are they going to service these claims? I'd love to talk to the chief judges and the judges to create administrative procedures so those claims go faster, so that you could get processing faster, as if you were an elder abuse or some other claim, because your home or your condo or your business is your life. And so getting those claims expeditiously resolved is different than somebody suing over some money they didn't get back.
Say again about the courts.
Sure. So you can create administrative procedures in courts, for example, that would either expedite hurricane-based litigation or streamline it in a way that you have a mechanism for people to get through the court system a little faster. You could have systems set up where people have to file certain forms, follow certain guidelines that expedite the litigation and make it go faster so there's not a delay. I mean, let me tell you something. This is not great for lawyers because lawyers would make less money. But I'm just telling you that it would be better that way. And what they can do in court systems, like they do in whether you're in family law cases or in juvenile dependency or in elder abuse cases, they actually issue foreclosure cases. They'll issue specific administrative orders that will govern the way the courts run. And so what you could do is you could say, in your orders, you can issue an administrative order that would say all claims which are related to the hurricane shall be treated expeditiously or shall be advanced upon the calendar or shall be tried within 9 months, or every effort should be made to do that. You can have lawyers be required after a certain amount of days to file a case status that tells you what the status of their litigation is and why they can or cannot get to trial. You can have alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. You can have arbitration options available. You can have a lot of situations that will help process these claims faster because the court system is not ready for this. I'm telling you, they are not ready. They think there's going to be 50 or 100 claims. There'll be 10,000 claims. There'll be thousands of claims filed in these court systems, and they're not prepared for that. Now the judges who already are overtaxed are going to have to deal with all these, and it just creates a backlog. Now, that may not be great for an insurance company or a lawyer because, for a lawyer that is trying to get the money quicker, but I'll tell you that the longer the case goes on, it's actually going to be more expensive for the insurance company. So everybody has a reason to get this litigation done as quickly as possible. And so there are mechanisms through the court systems that I would love to be able to educate them. We've educated other court systems on how to handle, congestion involved in large cases.
All right, Scott Major, man, I mean, this guy knows it inside and out. 850-233-9988. If you need to contact Scott and his team and get them on the case, their phone number is 844-800-LAWS, 844-800-LAWS, 844-800-LAWS. Got to take a break. By the way, their website, too, is stormhelpteam.org, stormhelpteam.org. More to come with Scott Major coming up next.
Kramer will be right back on NewsTalk at 101.
$7:53. It's the Kramer Show. We're back with Scott Major. Scott Major, just in town last week. Going to be making another fly in. He'll be on the air tomorrow. I have a sneeze brewing. That's why I'm sounding goofy. And then back again on Thursday in the studio.
Absolutely. And if anybody wants to go get lunch afterward, I'm available. Just call the station and tell them, and let's all go eat somewhere. And if you got to bring your questions, comments, insults, compliments, I'm there.
By the way, on that front, I saw a video this morning of you. I'm looking around, and I'm watching you're amazing. I'm watching, you're in the front of a crowd, and you're doing a motivational thing, and you're telling some jokes, and you're just crushing it. And so then I look at another one, and you're on a television station in New York, and you're talking about hurricane stuff, and you just nailed it. And then there's one called Moot Court Oral Argument, and you're wearing camo. And I was like, oh, my God, I gotta bring that to his attention that I saw that. Because
head to toe camo.
Head to toe. He was in camo. I don't know what that was about, but I saw It was like, I got to give him some grief.
Teaching high school, college, and law school kids how to argue, effectively in and out of court. And primarily, there's a competition. Every first-year law student's required to learn how to make an argument in front of a judge. And so, me being the closet comedian that I am, I wanted to make it fun and entertaining. Most of my motivation and other stuff that I've done around the country is always got a humorous angle on it because it's really fun to be able to do that. And it's great and it's inspiring, and I'm glad you guys got to see it because it's certainly entertaining. There's nothing in the videos that aren't entertaining.
There's one where you're asking people anecdotes, and what you're trying to point out is that our brain is, it automatically assumes things, and
right.
Because of that, then we don't think logically sometimes. And you were pointing that out. I mean, there's a lot that goes on with an attorney because a lot of it is tricky mind games. I mean, you've got to really be a very clear thinker. And then you were in a courtroom, I think in the one where you're in camo, and I was wondering, what is your demeanor in court? Are you high strung or are you more low key and chilled out?
No, I think I try to be as elegant as I possibly can. I think respect is the most important thing. I think people, whether you're jurors or judges, respect somebody who's smart, understated, elegant, passionate, but not melodramatic. And I think that if you do that, you carry yourself well. I've been in courts in states all over the country, and there are certain types of demeanors that work better in certain states than others, but primarily understated elegance, intelligence, deference to the court, respect, treating fellow lawyers as best you can, as well as other people, I think serves you well. I really do.
Is there with this storm? Do you find that there's more litigation in your field, or is it about the same? Or I mean, I find it interesting to get people like you and get their comparable differences between different storms.
Yeah, I believe you're going to see literally over 10,000 lawsuits filed in these cases having to do with Hurricane Michael. I think you're going to see extensive litigation. I think that the people who are bringing claims, though, the residents, the condo owners, churches, other people, I think you have the strongest claims you've ever had of just about any storm outside of Andrew. And I think you're on par with that in terms of your ability to succeed because the damages are so profound and not as debatable as some of the Category 1, Category 2 storm damages. It's very hard. I just hope that all the listeners out there make sure they check on their windows and on doors and on other things that don't look broken right now, but that could yield tens or hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in recoveries. But yes, I expect there to be litigation. I expect them to test the patience of this community, but I expect us to prevail.
Scott Major, ladies and gentlemen, there he is. We'll have him in the studio tomorrow. In the meantime, 844-800-LOST. Contact Scott Major from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team, 844-800-LOST, stormhelpteam.org. Have a great day. Be safe on your travels here, and I will see you bright and early tomorrow morning, sir.
Hey, thanks for all you do. Really appreciate it, and I'll see you later on today.
See you, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Okay,
Scott Major.
This is live and local morning radio. This is Kramer.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.